You're watching Louisiana's first WDSU Channel 6. As the countdown comes to a close, New Orleans prepares to welcome the new millennium. Live from WDSU 6 News, it's Countdown 2000.
Good evening and welcome to our Countdown 2000. Susan, we're almost there.
In just 35 minutes, the Crescent City will welcome a new year, a new century, and the new millennium. Over the next hour, we'll bring you live reports from across the city.
Covering the celebrations and, of course, Y2K concerns as the 21st century begins.
We begin our coverage in Jackson Square with WDSU 6 News reporter Scott Simmons.
What a great night it's been, Susie. Let me tell you what, the festivities have been ongoing. You say building momentum as we draw closer to midnight. Behind me, Wardell Gazar and his big band, and it's a big band. Also, Wanda Rosanna has been taking the stage. We are listening to rhythm and blues. Throughout the night, it's been a transition of music. We started with gospel, moved on to merengue. Now we got a little disco moving around. A big diversity of music, and that's what you see in the crowd. Diversity, people from far and near come down to Jackson Square to take in a wonderful New Year's event, to look high above the Jack's Brewery, watch the baby New Year and the ball drop, and have a great time. It's been a great night thus far, and we look forward to bringing you more from Jackson Square. Back to you.
All right, Scott Simmons live there. Now, some folks won't even make it to Jack's Brewery because they'll be stuck just a few blocks away.
That's right. WDSU 6 News reporter Ken Jones and Susan Roberts are live now on Bourbon Street with a look at all the action from the center of the French Quarter. Guys?
Well, this crowd is not going anywhere anytime soon. It is getting wilder and wilder. This crowd is not reflecting. They are not sentimental. They are all about a party tonight.
So you need to see them. They're down below there now, and you would think it's already midnight from where these folks are drinking and partying and having a good time out here. They're up and down Bourbon Street from Canal to Esplanade, having the time of their lives, pretty much reminiscent of Mardi Gras. But, of course, it's not New Year's. It's the day, but who cares? It's New Orleans. It's Bourbon Street.
Right. And people that are coming in town from all over the country know New Orleans, and they know it for Mardi Gras, and they're acting as if it is Mardi Gras in some ways, if you know what I mean. We're seeing beads going all over the place, lots of beads swapping, and a lot of good time.
Indeed. And we'll be out here for the most of the evening or night or morning and tell you all the activities that happen out here as the New Year 2000 comes in.
Okay, Ken and Susan, thank you.
Yeah, I doubt anybody down there knows what time it is.
Now, Charity Hospital is keeping an emergency staff on hand tonight as the clock strikes 12.
WDSU 6 News reporter Tisha Paul is there with more on that. Tisha?
Well, Norman and Susan, things here at Charity are pretty normal this evening. Doctors have been treating a few auto accident victims, but we don't know whether or not that is alcohol, that they were alcohol related. And also, if anything happens to the electricity tonight, the backup generators will kick in within 3 seconds. Charity Hospital has spent $3 million making sure things here are Y2K ready. And we're also keeping an eye out down the street at University Hospital for the first millennium baby of the year. So things are going pretty well. Doctors are preparing to see about 100 people tonight. They say New Year's Eve is always pretty busy, and they say things will probably pick up around here a little bit after midnight. Reporting live from Charity Hospital, I'm Tisha Powell, WDSU 6 News.
Her husband's the doctor, so it's only fitting she's on baby watch, right? Well, one of the few places around town that appears to be quiet is the airport.
WDSU 6 News reporter Ed Reams joins us live with a look at the last flight in. Ed.
Well, that's right, Susan and Norman. The last flight to leave New Orleans International for the Millennium has already left about 10 minutes ago, and so it's a virtual ghost town here at the airport. But there are lots of folks here, about 75 people here to keep an eye and make sure the transition into the new millennium goes smoothly. There are generators running in case they happen to lose power. The biggest problem now is this heavy fog that's rolled in the past 15 minutes, which could delay some flights arriving here after the new year. We will, of course, watch that situation and bring you an update a little bit later. Norman, Susan, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Ed.
Well, the city of New Orleans is keeping an eye on city services during the calendar rollover to Y2K.
And Mike Aiken is at City Hall where he's covering the Emergency Command Center.
Well, here at City Hall tonight, it appears the city's Y2K plan is going off very smoothly. Now, the EOC and the Office of Emergency Preparedness have been on alert since 4 o'clock this afternoon, keeping an eye out for any Y2K problems. City managers, department heads, other folks involved with public utilities, Bell South Energy have all been here since that time, just in case there has been any kind of a Y2K computer glitch. None were expected, of course, and the city's been preparing for that type of a scenario since about 1993, 1994 in that arena. Spent a little bit more than $10 million to make sure that the computers in this area have been up to speed for controls, for things like the stoplights and other water and sewer systems here in the city. And again, as we said, it appears that everything is going smoothly. No reports of any major outages. And, of course, that is definitely good news for the city of New Orleans. Here in downtown, Mike Aiken, WDSU 6 News.
Good to hear. Now, this New Year's Eve is an exciting end to an exciting year in New Orleans.
Here's a look back now at some of the top stories that shaped 1999. Time has brought major change to the face of the city.
I think that this is the closest thing to a Las Vegas casino I've ever seen in my life. I think it's simply beautiful.
In October 1999, New Orleans welcomes the long-awaited opening of Harrah's Casino. And a few blocks away, just 2 days before the casino's debut, the New Orleans Arena opens its doors. Just a quarter. For the first time in nearly 40 years, streetcars return to Canal Street. Eventually, the line will extend to the Metairie Cemetery and the New Orleans Museum of Art. 1999 marked an historic event for the state's largest employer. Litton Industries buys Avondale Shipyard. The change in ownership allows workers to form a union, a move that ends years of fighting between employees and the company.
These employees would not have been denied. They were going to stick together until they won. And when you have employees that believe that, you can't lose. Yes, we'd have won eventually. We just did it quicker.
But despite the growth, there were losses. Grocery store giant Swegman's goes out of business. And the nationwide downsizing in the oil industry trickles down to New Orleans. Just 5 years ago, New Orleans made headlines when the murder rate spiraled out of control. By the end of 1999, crime is near an all-time low. The city did make national news when the mayor filed suit against gun manufacturers.
Guns can be made safer.
New Orleans becomes the first city in the nation to do so. Although the murder rate is down, violence did leave its mark this year.
I think it touches everybody's heartstrings, particularly when it's a child.
New Orleans police still don't know who killed 6-year-old Kevin Wooden. While the quiet town of Gonzales was torn apart when a distraught man opened fire on a church full of worshipers. In all, 4 people were killed. In May, the worst traffic accident in New Orleans history happened on Mother's Day, 1999.
My grandmother was on there, and they said all the critical ones are at Charity Hospital, and Charity won't give us any information. A lot of them don't have their IDs on them.
22 people died when their charter bus careened off Interstate 610. The driver of the bus died later, leaving behind a history of medical and drug problems. And Thanksgiving 1999 will be remembered as a tragic one for a local family. A van carrying 8 members of the Padilla family slid beneath an 18-wheeler. 7 of them died. On the political front, 1999 could very well be described as bizarre, even by Louisiana standards. 3 incumbent politicians face indictment. Insurance Commissioner Jim Brown and State Senator Greg Tarver are accused in the Edwin Edwards case, while Elections Commissioner Jerry Fowler is charged for allegedly taking kickbacks, an accusation that ultimately caused him to lose office.
I'm so proud of the coalition that we built.
New Orleans City Council member Suzanne Hike-Terrell defeats Republican Woody Jenkins for Fowler's seat, while Jim Brown struggles to win re-election in a bitter campaign fight. In the suburbs, a nasty race for council divides Jefferson Parish.
I mean, this was an old-fashioned whipping.
This goes to show the people how arrogant he is and how he's for himself and his family, like I've been saying all along, because he sure never thanked the voters.
And the revelation of an extramarital affair cost longtime Congressman Bob Livingston his job. Louisiana lawmaker David Vitter beats former Governor David Treen for that seat. And in the race for governor, Mike Foster easily wins his bid for a second term. Foster's brush with the feds this year has little impact on his popularity.
I had nothing to hide, but just like Woody Jenkins, it ain't real cool to put out there that you're buying something from David Duke.
Although the governor violated no laws when he purchased a mailing list from former Klansman David Duke, he did end up paying a hefty ethics fine.
No use for us to do anything at all except to follow the rules, and I intend to do that.
And former Governor Edwin Edwards makes headlines throughout 1999. The government's case against Edwards, his son, and several others unfolds even more as it gets ready to go to trial next month. On the local political scene, New Orleans Mayor Mark Morial launches his campaign to win a third term, a move that would entail a change in the city charter. The city's most eligible bachelor also ties the knot this year. Morial marries anchorwoman Michelle Miller. In 1999, New Orleans also said final goodbyes to several prominent familiar faces. In sports, the price of Saints tickets goes up, and for a moment, so does the hope of the fans. Coach Mike Ditka gives up 7 draft picks for one player, running back Ricky Williams. But as the optimism fades, the frustration grows. The dismal football season isn't limited to the Saints. In November, LSU coach Jerry DiNardo calls it quits, clearing the way for Nick Saban to take the reins.
Time has come today.
The embattled Orleans Parish school system managed to find a new superintendent only after one of the top 2 finalists withdraws his name.
I can work very, very well with people. When it comes time to making the tough decision, then I'll make the tough decision.
Former Marine Corps Colonel Alphonse Davis takes over as school chief 1 year after the board began its search. On another school issue, classes at the new New Orleans Center for the Creative Arts are finally about to begin. After months of fighting, the state agrees to operate the new facility while paying the school board to lease the land. And a history lesson of sorts goes on display at the New Orleans Museum of Art in April of this year.
There's no other city in America can claim that personal tie. Edgar Degas only came to New Orleans. He only painted pictures here. No other impressionists ever came to America.
Nearly 200,000 people get a glimpse into the past during the 4 months of the Edgar Degas exhibit. And a Lakeview church makes history in 1999. Thousands of people from all faiths gather to pray before the relics of St. Therese.
We've had so many miracles today, small ones, big ones. There have been stories about a rose returning color and flowers blooming, but even the little miracles like someone's face being reborn.
And we have much more ahead in our special Countdown 2000.
We're watching the crowd fill the French Quarter, and we have a front row seat for you for the festivities. Stay with us. Welcome back to our special Countdown 2000 with just about 18 minutes to go until midnight. This is what Jackson Square looks like right now. And apparently tonight now we have our first reported New Year's Eve injury.
Our reporter on the scene, Tisha Powell, is standing by live now from Charity Hospital with that report. Tisha?
Yes, Norman, about 10 minutes ago, a 23-year-old white male was brought in with a slight flesh wound to the shoulder. According to the EMS people that brought him in, they were talking to the family, and the family said there was a lot of shooting going on in the neighborhood where the young man was injured. It was on Carondelet Street, and he arrived about 10 minutes ago, and Charity Hospital spokesman Jerry Romig said that he's going to be okay. He's just suffering from a slight flesh wound to the shoulder, which was possibly caused by a falling bullet. Right now, they're just assuming that that's what happened, but according to the family, there was a lot of shooting going on in the area, and it appears to be a flesh wound caused by a falling bullet. So he is the first New Year's Eve victim that we have from possible falling bullets. Reporting live at Charity Hospital, I'm Tisha Powell, WDSU 6 News.
And Tisha, we noticed that even the EMS guys are wearing bulletproof helmets of some sort.
Yes, they are. They are wearing what appears to be Kevlar helmets on their head to protect them from possible falling bullets. And it's not even 12 o'clock yet, which we found very strange, considering that people usually shoot into the air at midnight, and that's been something that city officials have been trying to stop, you know, and it's not even midnight yet, and everyone seems to be preparing themselves for something like this to happen. So we've got our first victim here at Charity Hospital. Luckily, he is going to be okay.
Well, hopefully people will get the message from this unfortunate incident that it's not real smart to just fire guns into the air.
Let's go now live again to Jack's Brewery to see what Scott Simmons is doing out with the big crowd there at Jackson Square. Scott.
Oh, what started as a trickle, Susie, has quickly grown into a true sea of humanity. Look over my shoulder right now. Across the street from St. Louis Cathedral next to the Jack's Brewery, literally thousands and thousands of people. All of them treated to a transition of musical styles, starting the night off with gospel music, moving to merengue. Now we're enjoying some rhythm and blues. This has been the scene throughout the night. More and more people have packed into this one area. Quite frankly, there's no walking room. It is standing room only. From Toulouse on Decatur all the way past St. Anne Street. Everyone trying to find their own standing room to be able to watch the ball come down from Jack's Brewery. It's been a great night here so far in the Jackson Square area. There's been an enormous police presence. We're told over 75 officers assigned to this one area. We've also told you how SWAT and tactical teams are also positioned in various parts of the city close to this proximity, just in case their help is needed. So far, it appears, though, that has not been the case. We certainly hope for the best. Back to you.
All right, Scott, they seem to be having a very good time down there as we are here. At the stroke of midnight, we'll say goodbye, of course, to the 20th century. And
WDSU 6 News anchor Alec Gifford is going to be looking back at the past 10 years throughout this newscast. We'll begin with a look at the start of the 1990s.
At the Aquarium of the Americas, which dominated much of the news of the year 1990. On Labor Day weekend, 10 years ago, it was opening day. Time to strike up the band.
It was years in the planning and millions in the construction, and it took a vote of the people to get the money. But when it all came together on Labor Day weekend 10 years ago, it was clear New Orleans had a hit on its hands.
I don't know how I'm a hypocrite.
In 1991, former Governor Edwin Edwards faced an unlikely runoff opponent, one-time Ku Klux Klan leader David Duke. It attracted national attention. They debated on Meet the Press, and people who didn't like either man but felt Edwards was a better bet than Duke used this slogan, vote for the crook. It's important. Edwards emerged victorious for an unprecedented fourth term. But that was nothing compared to the Saints winning the NFC West by defeating the Arizona Cardinals on an interception that sealed the win.
Atkins for the third time, and he's still going.
This could be a touchdown. Long overdue. Long overdue. We're going to be in a number. Santa Claus has brought it home.
My, how times have changed. 1991 was also the kickoff of the lottery, the beginning of Louisiana's love affair with gambling that would lead to scandals allegedly reaching into the governor's office itself. 1992 was the year someone kicked our sacred cow, Mardi Gras. It was Councilwoman Dorothy May Taylor who got the council to pass a carnival non-discrimination law.
I think it's a victory for the people of this city. It sends a loud, clear message that New Orleanians, the city council, will not tolerate discrimination.
Comus, Momus, and Proteus canceled their parades. Rex opened up to a handful of black members.
By the end of the next year, 1993, the murder rate in New Orleans had climbed dramatically. We'll show you how that affected all of our lives in the mid-90s as we continue our look back at the major stories of the decade.
And Alec will look back on the highlights of the mid-1990s coming up.
And we'll be back with more of our Countdown 2000. Stay with us. We'll soon be ringing in the new year in about 12 minutes. This is a live picture of Jackson Square, the center of the University of New Orleans, ground zero for Countdown 2000, with just 10 minutes and 34 seconds to go until midnight.
There's also a colorful party tonight at Blaine Kern's Mardi Gras World in Algiers.
And WDSU 6 News reporter Richard Angelico takes us there.
Say, is this great or what? The new year, the new millennium, New Orleans, and Mardi Gras. It's sort of where the at's at and where you at. Say, now you heard of the King and I? Well, this is sort of the New Orleans version of the King and them. Now, this is how we celebrate the millennium in New Orleans. You got to put rollers in your hair. You got to have on Doc Martens and lots of hair on the legs down here. Nobody told you about the jammies?
No. We were first told that it was black tie, and then the last
jammies, Martha?
Oh, it is?
What are your jammies? But somebody said in Algiers, pajamas are black tie.
Excuse me?
People in New Orleans really like to drink, you know, so I have a question for you. Is this from drinking too much Purple Haze? Unfortunately, no. It's Jimi Hendrix influence. Oh, it's Jimi Hendrix influence. Ah. No Purple Haze. No Purple Haze. No Purple Haze. Not yet, anyway. So if you're an adventure fan, check this out. Hey, excuse me. Do you know James Bond?
Oh, yes, I'm Goldfinger.
You're Goldfinger?
I am Goldfinger, although I left a little spot on my back here, so I will not die tonight. I am okay.
I think he's the youngest.
So how old are you?
0 so far.
That's a New Orleans pacifier, right?
Got that right.
They may have that baby over at Jack's Brewery, but they don't have anything on Mardi Gras World. Check out this bowl of gumbo. Now, right before midnight, they're going to raise this thing all the way up to the top of that crane and then lower it all the way down to this parking lot, and boom, 2,000. Well, that's about all that's going on over here at Blaine Kern's Mardi Gras World. I'm Richard Angelico, WDSU, Channel 6 News. Say, look, so tell me, who's going to be Rex 2000?
Mom's the word.
Yeah, how's your mom and him? We're 8 minutes and 34 seconds away from 2,000.
So now for a quick update on the weather, let's go right to Chief Meteorologist Dan Milham.
Susan and Norman, the reports of fog in southeast Louisiana are increasing, and of late we have reports of fog starting to form out at the airport in Kenner. And Lakefront Airport, you can expect it in certain places where you know the area is cool and sheltered from the wind, you're over water. Visibilities at Baton Rouge and Lafayette are down to 1/4 mile. Visibility out at the airport in Kenner is down to 1.5 miles. Now, if that sounds like a long distance, remember that on a nice day, your normal visibility is 5 or 6 miles. So even 1.5 miles is not that great, and visibilities will likely be going down over the next hour and so, and it'll probably be patches of fog through which you'll be driving right through the morning hours, maybe 8 to 10 o'clock in the morning. So all I'm saying is, while not everybody is going to see the fog out there, just stay alert. Please try not to be the one jerk that drives 70 miles an hour through a fog bank. If you come onto a fog bank, slow down and stay alert, and everything will be fine. Susan?
Okay, Dan. Now, the mid-90s brought us a new mayor, a new governor, and a devastating crime rate.
WDSU 6 News anchor Alec Gifford takes another look back now at the 90s.
In 1993, crime was rampant in New Orleans, and drug dealers battling for turf were killing each other in record numbers. We closed the year with almost 400 murders. In May of 1993, a barge ran into a supporting column of the Judge Seba Bridge, causing the roadway to collapse. Although the bridge was loaded with traffic at the time, there was just one fatality. It seemed a miracle that there were not more. And just before Christmas of 1993, a massive fire destroyed the Fairgrounds racetrack. It was 122 years old the night of the fire, and it took years to rebuild it. But it's back, and the horses are running again. In 1994, New Orleans said goodbye to Jim Finks, the Saints general manager who had led the team to that NFC West championship. With his death from cancer, the team began a slide that forced Jim Mora to resign and continues to this day, despite the best efforts of Mike Ditka. 1994 was also the year Mark Morial was elected to his first term as mayor, and he immediately launched a campaign to get a handle on crime. He hired Richard Pennington out of Washington, D.C., and during the succeeding 6 years, the murder rate has dropped steadily, and crime in general is coming under control. Meanwhile, Edwin Edwards, seemingly heading toward a fifth term, stunned the opening day of a special session by announcing he would not seek re-election and gave a vague explanation of why.
The reason is I want to do something else with the rest of my life.
And that cleared the way for Mike Foster to become governor in 1995 and win his re-election this year. With fanfare and fireworks, the temporary Harrah's land-based casino opened at the Municipal Auditorium while a permanent building was being constructed. But it didn't last long, this temporary casino. Just before Thanksgiving of the same year, it went bankrupt and closed. A few months before it closed, New Orleans was hit by a deluge. 3 days of record rainfall. Homes were flooded and streets impassable.
In 1996, Louisiana got a new U.S. Senator, Mary Landrieu, the first Louisiana woman elected to that body. We were also frightened by a hurricane named George and horrified at the deadliest traffic accident in Louisiana history. We'll have these stories when we continue. I'll look back at the major events of the 1990s.
And our Countdown 2000 special continues in just a moment.
We will go back live to Bourbon Street and see what's going on there. Welcome back to Countdown 2000. We're getting very, very close now with about 2 minutes left to the magic hour.
So let's go again live now to Scott Simmons, who's at Jackson Square to wait for the ball to drop. Scott.
Oh, Susie, the anticipation is building. The mayor has just stepped on the stage telling everyone it's about 2 minutes until that magic hour, 12 o'clock midnight. And so the crowds are beginning to cheer. And I wish I could give you a look all the way down Decatur towards Esplanade. I'm telling you, it is elbow to elbow, standing room only. If you see over my shoulder, and you see what was a trickle of people coming into the quarter is now a sea of humanity. It was an amazing scene. It's great. People have just taken a spot wherever they can find it. They have found a nook, a cranny, just someplace to stand and cheer the night on. And it has been an incredible night. Plenty of music for everyone to enjoy. We started the night off with some gospel music. Then we moved on to merengue. Now we had rhythm and blues with Wardell Gazar and his big band. And everybody you look around is finding their little spots, dancing where they are.
All of the wonderful things.
What has been amazing is as the mayor cheers, we see everyone cheering in their own corners.
For the new millennium.
Mayor Morial is addressing the crowd right now. We're going to listen to him for a moment.
56.
As he gives the
55,
countdown.
54, 53, 52, 50. $37, 36, 35, 34, 33, 32, 31, 28, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 21. 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. up the favor yet. Forgot and then were brought to mind. All the pleasure forgot everything time, my friend. And his big band, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up! Whoa! Whoa!
And so it is. We welcome in a new year and a new millennium here in the city of New Orleans, the year 2000. And what a celebration it has been, as thousands and thousands of people have packed into Jackson Square and celebrated as if they were all friends. It has been a great night, and we're enjoying the celebration. That is certain to go on throughout the rest of the night. We will now send it back to Norman and Susan. Happy millennium, guys.
Happy New Year, Scott.
Happy New Year, everybody. You know, the mayor sounded like he was in rare form tonight. Was that him singing?
I don't think so. He was accompanying the concert tonight. But Happy New Year, New Orleans.
Bourbon Street, you know, looks more like Fat City tonight.
Fat Tuesday.
Well, Fat Tuesday, yeah.
Ken Jones and Susan Roberts are there. Hey.
Hey.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Nothing changes out here whatsoever.
No, nothing's really changed since we talked to you last.
That's
Just
right.
lots of hugs and kisses and pops of champagne.
Indeed. In fact, you know, this looks like any Mardi Gras. In fact, the lights are still on, which is a very good sign that all the Y2K scare never really happened. So, as one media person to the rest of the world, I apologize for the hype. This is a very, very good celebration out here. A good crowd having a great time on Bourbon Street.
Absolutely. We did see a couple of policemen hoofing it pretty fast through the quarter a minute ago. We don't know where they were going, but we haven't really heard any disturbances. We did hear a few fireworks, a few firecrackers going off on Bourbon, but hopefully everyone's all right.
That's right. Indeed, we can hear the fireworks going on over in Jackson Square. I would believe that's over at the riverfront at this point. Folks out here, we had to count it down for them because, of course, no one's really paying attention to a clock out here.
Right.
We pretty much counted down from 10, and once we did, and all broke loose, and it's a great time on Bourbon Street.
Oh, it really is. We're looking forward to hopefully great health next year, a prosperous time, and great times with our family and friends and those we love.
Indeed. In fact, when these folks get back home and sober up, I would assume that they have a lot of great wishes for all their loved ones as well.
Yes. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year, New Orleans.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We will be right back with a serious news story, a very serious car accident tonight. Stay with Channel 6. Welcome back. In all the celebration tonight, there has been a 30-car accident in Hammond because of the fog.
And on the phone with us now to explain what happened is Louisiana State Trooper Kevin Allen. Trooper Allen, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us exactly what happened? Did somebody get rear-ended and a chain reaction result because of it?
I can't advise right now what happened other than it was a result of the fog out there and the limited visibility. What we know right now is we had about 15 cars pile up on one side of the interstate and about approximately 9 vehicles on the other side of the interstate. Right now we have traffic rerouted at Pumpkin Center down to LA 22 or US 190, and we also have it rerouted at I-55 and I-12.
Trooper, what can you tell us about injuries?
Right now, the only injuries that we found are minor injuries. We have one person listed with moderate injuries, but it doesn't appear we have any serious injuries at all in the accident.
You said it was fog-related. How bad is the fog along the interstate?
I haven't made it to the location myself right now, but I've been told that the fog is getting heavy on the interstates, and we are advising people to try to stay off interstates as much as possible.
Okay, Trooper, one more time before you go, could you tell our viewers once again what area has been blocked off and where you're rerouting traffic?
At the Pumpkin Center exit off of I-12, we're rerouting traffic either north or southbound to LA 22 or US 190. And on I-55 and I-12, traffic is being rerouted north on I-55, there again to LA 22 or US 190.
All right, thank you very much, Louisiana State Trooper Kevin Allen, with that report. Once again, there is a 30-car pileup on Interstate 12 in Hammond.
And we'll be back with much more after this.
Happy New Year. We're now 11 minutes into year 2000, and the party in the French Quarter has begun in earnest.
So let's go back to Scott Simmons, who's live in Jackson Square. Scott.
Oh, Susie, aside from the river, we hear the fireworks still going on since the clock struck midnight. It is still a very, very festive event. As you might imagine, it'll continue to be so. As we look across the crowds and we see only some thinning, there are literally thousands and thousands of people filling Decatur as far as I can see from where I stand, past Toulouse, all the way on the other end towards Esplanade, at least 4 or 5 blocks. They surround Jackson Square. They have taken their place. Many are just reaching for whatever beads are available. It has been an incredibly great night, and from all indications from where we've stood, as the crowds have been relatively well behaved as we can gauge. We've seen no police action. There has been certainly an enormous police presence. As we reported earlier, they had over 75 police officers signed for this one area. Horses trying to work through the crowd simply to have that presence to let people know that police were in the area. It appears to have been rather successful. From where we stood here in front of the cathedral, things have been relatively well behaved. Still a very festive night. Probably promises to be well into the morning as everyone enjoys the fireworks next to the river and the drinks that are in their hands. We will stay here to keep an eye on it for you. Back to you.
Okay, Scott, thank you. We'll check in with you later. Now we want to head on over again to Bourbon Street.
That's where Susan Roberts and Ken Jones are holding court. Guys?
Oh, well, I tell you what, I think that this is probably the prime spot tonight. Scott Simmons might argue with us, though.
He might argue with us, but I disagree with him. This is the best spot to be. If you think about it, all the real party people who are away from the fireworks are here drinking, carousing between Esplanade and Canal Street, having a great time.
Oh, yes. I haven't heard anyone mention New Year's resolutions tonight. What about you?
To have a job on Monday.
Oh, yes. Me to work harder, read more, spend more time with my family and friends, all that
I used to
good
say
stuff.
all that, but I just stopped. But anyway, Scott was mentioning earlier about all the police in the area, uniformed officers, and you talked about the 3 officers we saw run up the street. What people don't know, there are quite a few undercover cops out here, numbering in the hundreds, that are roaming around the crowd, making sure that people stay orderly as you can stay for the French Quarter.
We can report that besides the screams of excitement, this has been a great crowd tonight, a really clean crowd. Everything's gone pretty much status quo.
Right, and where is this flag coming from? What is this all about? Everyone's having a great time out here. They want everyone involved. The beads are flying everywhere. And you know what? Before we get pelted and killed, maybe we ought to send it back to them.
Right, back to you guys.
Okay, mind your heads. Susan Roberts and Ken Jones live on Bourbon Street.
Yeah, we're going to hear from Fats Domino a little later in the broadcast, and of course the founder of rock and roll, Dave Bartholomew, his producer and arranger, sends his well wishes to the entire city of New Orleans. Well, you know, now we're in the year 2000. It's time to start thinking about the Olympics.
And we'll be taking a look at that coming up next. The crowd is still ringing in the new year around Jackson Square, and you know some will stick around until the sun comes up. This new year is going to be the year of the athlete, the year of the Olympic Games in Sydney, Australia, and WDSU Channel 6 is your place to watch them.
Starting right now until the closing ceremonies in October, WDSU 6 News will bring you weekly stories featuring local ties to the Olympic Games. As we kick off our Olympic stories, WDSU 6 sports anchor Rich Lenz tells us about 2 homegrown swimmers going for the gold.
Ashley Tappan was 17 years old when she won a gold medal at the 1992 Barcelona Games as a member of the United States 4x100 freestyle relay team. Now 25, Tappan lives and trains full-time at the U.S. facility in Colorado Springs, determined to bring back more medals from the 2000 Games in Sydney, this time in one of her favorite individual events, the 50, 100, or 200-meter freestyle.
It would be really nice. I mean, the relays are definitely the best part of being on an Olympic team. I love being a part of a team, a 4-girl squad, and going for it, and that's really something special. But an individual event, I mean, you're up there on your own. You're standing on your own 2 legs.
Tappan has spent a good portion of the last 16 years in a pool. Win or lose, the Sydney Olympics will be her swan song from international competition.
This is my last year, and I just see it as had such a long run, and I've had so much fun at it, and now it's so close to being over, so I'm just milking it for everything I can get.
Ironically, Tappan's farewell from the sport may herald the emergence of another New Orleanian freestyler, 15-year-old Jacqueline Faulkner of Dominican High School. She's actually broken some of Tappan's local records and has qualified for the Olympic trials in the same event, the 50-meter freestyle.
People have been comparing me to her, and of course, people calling to me, Ashley Tappan did this, and it's like an honor to me to like be compared to her, but I'm going to be competing against her too.
Faulkner and Tappan are sprinters. The 50-meter free is equivalent to the 100-meter dash in track and field.
I like the 50. I'm pretty sure that you probably like that too, just because it's short and it's a lot of pump and everything before, but it's over quick.
Like before I race the 50, I know I've at least drinking 2 or 3 cups of coffee, and I'm just wired, absolutely wired. And you know that cartoon on MTV, that Beavis and Butthead? It's almost kind of like that, because you're just like, you know.
The United States Olympic swimming trials will be held in August in Indianapolis, but the U.S. weightlifting trials will be held right here at the Hilario Center in West Wego. One day, July 22nd, 30 athletes from all over the country coming here to compete for 8 spots.
They will come here on July 22nd, a Saturday. They will compete all day, and by the end of that night, we will find out who will be representing the United States in the Olympics.
This $15 million facility, which opened last March, will have a seating capacity of 3,000 for the trials.
For the Hilario Center, it's a big nationally televised event. For New Orleans, obviously, it's just one event in many. But for the Hilario Center, it's a very big event that we hope that will lead to other bigger and better things.
New Orleans yachtsman John Lovell is hoping for bigger and better things on the water. After competing in the tornado class in the '96 Atlanta Games, Lovell is already in Sydney practicing for the Olympic trials in March. and his brother Andy Lovell will also be competing in the laser class. On the national level, can Michael Johnson possibly improve on his legendary 200-meter performance in Atlanta? He'll try, and if he shares the same attitude as Ashley Tappan, the results could be spectacular.
I can't think of very many more people that are as patriotic as I am. Like I get so fired up when we go to other countries, and you know, there's the Chinese and the Japanese and the Germans and the Australians and the Canadians, and I'm just like, Americans don't lose. We're better.
Rich Lenz, WDSU 6 Sports.
Well, you can keep up with the Olympic trials, the games, and the stats online. Just go to WDSU.com and click on Sydney 2000. We'll keep the link on our homepage until after the games.
But tonight, there's more partying to show you. We'll be right back with more live reports in just a moment.
Plus, we'll hear from New Orleans rock and roll legend Fats Domino.
I'm beating my son, my girl called, got to tune them all. Cause Sunday is a horn ringing day, and Friday I'll get my feet.
Welcome back to our Countdown 2000. You're looking at a live picture from Jackson Square, and the entire French Quarter is the place to be tonight.
That's right. Ken Jones and Susan Roberts are live on Bourbon Street, where the party is apparently moving to. Ken, Susan?
That's right. The party's moving here, and it's turning into a typical Mardi Gras party. People are bartering, if you will, with parts of their anatomy for the usual beads on this particular street, something that's common to folks who come up and down Bourbon Street.
Right, and being on the sober end of things, I'm ready to turn my head and walk away from all of this.
This is true. Most of us are turning our heads at this point. But aside from that, it's quite a party out here with folks pretty much walking up and down the street, wishing one another Happy New Year, Happy New Millennium, and Happy New Millennium as well.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Okay. All right.
Happy New Year to everyone. Back to you.
Thank you, guys. Be careful getting out of there tonight.
It's true, if they ever get out of there
It's going to be
tonight.
a madhouse.
Now let's get one last look at what's going on in Jackson Square.
Here's WDSU 6 News reporter Scott Simmons.
Boy, talk about when the party's over, everybody heads out. A few minutes ago, a brass friend, second line to him right out of Jackson Square, sending him over to the French Quarter to enjoy the revelry on Bourbon Street. But throughout the better part of the night, it's been a great evening as we've been celebrating. It was elbow to elbow here just a few minutes ago. Everybody's celebrating the new year. Some people still getting into it, but we expect that to be the case after all. This is New Orleans, this is Jackson Square, and this is a New Year's celebration. So it'll be going on well into the night. It's already been a great celebration. So far, so good. Back to you.
Good job, Scott. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Well, we're close to 30 minutes into the new millennium, and the partying around town is showing no signs of slowing down.
We would like to thank you for sharing this historic night with us.
And as we say goodnight to you, we leave you with a New Orleans legend, Fats Domino, performing tonight at the Hyatt Regency.
Good night and Happy New Year.